Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom preview stream. As always, I'm joined by my good friend Jake. Jake, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, thanks, mate.
That's good. That's
Uh,
that's what I
don't
like
really
to
have
hear.
much more to fill you up on, to be honest. Yeah, I'm doing good.
You're doing
It's
good.
nice to get back into the rhythm of weekly shows.
Yeah, there is only obviously one game week, well, one weekend where there isn't Premier League football, and that's coming up in a few weeks in March. Up until then, it's going to be Premier League football every single week. European football is going to be back, midweek FA Cup rounds as well. There's plenty of football going off, and I feel that's just what we like. That is just what we like.
Exactly, exactly.
Exactly. Coming up in today's preview, we're obviously going to go through mine and Jake's team. We're going to have bed shitter of the week. We're going to be discussing double game weeks as well. Still, the Liverpool double game week hasn't been announced, despite there kind of being a little bit of suggestion towards it is going to be announced, with Liverpool saying certain things, Klopp saying certain things as well. So we're going to have a look at that and how to potentially plan for that one. And of course, we are going to look at the best captain option for game week 23, because I do feel, even though, Pep has said that Haaland will be back, I do feel this potentially could be the last week in a while that we have the chance to go against Erling Haaland. But we're going to obviously start off with our most, well, prestigious competition. Of course, it is Bed Shitter of the Week. This is the award for basically, well, the shittest player of the week who let everybody down in their FPL teams for game week 22. Jake, I'm going to pan to you first. Obviously, the two lads on screen, I can imagine which one you're going to go for.
Yeah, it wasn't Darwin Núñez's night
No.
against Chelsea, unfortunately. Bless him. You could argue it also was his night for the amount of chaos he caused, for the fact that it was quite an astounding victory for Liverpool, and of course he did get the assist right at the end. But to be honest, he just saved face with that assist to get the positive points, bring it back to two for me. But my word, it could have been so much more. Bless him, he's broken the record for a woodworks hit in one game. He missed the penalty, like he just wasn't working for him. But to be honest, that doesn't mean that, like a few weeks ago, maybe when I was suggesting the likes of Saka, or earlier on in the season when we were talking about Nicholas Jackson, there's still a lot of promise with little Darwin. He just this week he did just shit the bed quite heavily.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not something to worry about, I'd say, because in the future it's bound to click, you'd imagine. And if it doesn't, then we'll come back to this point and be like, what the hell? He's the big bed shitter champion. But yeah, bless him. He just didn't have it just didn't click for him. But he definitely did everything but score. And
Mm.
unfortunately, fantasy is all reliant on the goals, and his XG must have been fucking mad.
I think it was 1.25 for the game.
Yeah, not ideal. So yeah, he's my clear bed shitter, to be honest.
I think that's a worthy nomination, to be honest. He's probably going to win it outright. So I am going to put forward a candidate, but for me personally, I think Darwin is going to win it because that game was just crazy. And his performance overall was just a bit mental to go and do that. But I'm going to go and put forward Trent Alexander-Arnold. He was in my team, didn't start. I thought he would. Obviously, Bradley having a super impressive game did keep him out of the side. Is he going to earn his place back? I don't know. That is something we're going to have to discuss. But he did come off the bench, getting me a solitary point. I know he blocked some people getting points off the bench from like the likes of Fabian Schär, Branthwaite, some other defenders as well that did score well this week. And when you are paying a premium price for a player like that, you at least want him to start the game. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
coming off the
things
bench
were,
for a
things
one
were
pointer.
starting to look good for him in fantasy as well before he got injured.
Exactly. That's why I brought him in. So follow me for more quality FPL advice like this. But yeah, I think Darwin is going to win it, but I am obviously going to have to put forward a candidate. So I'm going to put Trent. So I will go ahead and just slide over and put the poll up right now. Let's get this going. Bed shitter of the week. Get your votes in for that.
I'm ready.
Oh, it's coming, lad. It's coming. It's coming. Don't you worry about me.
No, I think your point is valid for Trent, though. To be fair, I think that's a good contrary opinion to think about. I do think. I mean, if people don't have Darwin in their team, and they will have put their money into Trent, their faith in Trent, especially with the likes of Salah,
Hmm.
De Bruyne, Haaland, all of them being ineligible or injured for the past few game weeks up until now. I think a lot of people will have stuck with Trent because of how good he's been. I think even you said in previous streams that Trent was someone that you were willing to keep in, even though he was injured, just because who would have thought that Conor Bradley would come and do what he's done? I think he got the best haul the defenders got this season. I don't know if it's ever. I don't know. I think it
No,
was.
it's
I
not.
saw.
It's not ever. It's not ever.
I definitely saw something that he's done that was mad. I think he was the first person in Premier League history, was it, or something, since 2003 to four, when stats were acknowledging goals and assists, that he's the second person after Trent, would you believe, to get 3 goal assist contributions in a game. No one would have imagined that.
No.
And I think with Trent, it's just harsh that it just so happens to be his position. He's been injured. No doubt, if he came back in, he'd still perform to the top level that he can do. I think just the discussion is whether one, he gets dropped, Bradley, for Trent, because of the level of the game that they've got. It's a big title race decider, as much as it's still early in the season to decide the actual finish of the season. It is still a big 6-pointer for both sides, so maybe that'll sneak Trent in for his experience. But also, there's the question of, does he sneak into midfield this time?
True. I think that links quite nicely to a question Daniel Wilson's asked as well. He says, do they think they can keep risking benching Trent long term, or do you think he'll pack his bags in the summer? Obviously links with Real Madrid as well.
I think it just depends. It really does just depend. I feel like with the amount of games Liverpool are going to have in the next few months, with them being in all of the cups, including the Europa League, so the Thursday nights will take their toll. It's going to be hard to imagine that Liverpool won't get some more injuries further down the line. And so, of course, Trent then is a really good asset to have in midfield as well, if that is the case. And on top of that, I think just with the sheer amount of fixtures that they're going to be congested with, it's good to have that rotation opportunity. And to be honest, the fact that Bradley's playing so well, you'd like to think it'll raise Trent's game.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Well, I'd hope so for my own team, to be honest.
I'd hope so too.
Hopefully he can dislodge Trent. That's all I'm going to say. Hopefully it's going to happen. Daniel has asked another question, then we'll move on to your team, Jake. He said, thoughts on Porro post Maddison's return? Feel like he's not going to attract the same bonus points like he was previously. I think on that, it's an interesting point. I definitely think he will start to lose more and more set pieces as Maddison kind of regains his spot in the team. But I still think he is a very good defender to have in the game. And I think Spurs' fixtures minus the blank are still pretty decent. I don't know if you agree with that point, Jake.
Yeah, just looking at them now, all of the games that they have, even the tricky one like on paper against Brighton, I know they had a bit of a shock thrashing in the week, but I think all of those games on paper, even that game that you could say is difficult on paper, it's at home. I feel like Porro's still, like you say, a valuable asset to have in your team. So I would probably hold on to him for now. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
I mean, Everton aren't conceding at the moment, so going to Goodison Park might be the trickiest game of all of these fairly easy fixtures for Spurs. And so if that's the case, if Everton do keep a clean sheet, then maybe that could be playing out a goalless draw, which would then maybe put the limelight still on Porro as opposed to Maddison, who you could see maybe would fail to find that breakthrough. On the contrary, though, it's not a bad thing to have both of them in these fixtures, especially with Maddison being back.
True. I agree with that. Right, let's move on to your points total from game week 22. 48 points for you, a little bit of a rank decrease. Talk us through what went well, and as you can see, there's quite a lot that didn't go too well for you, Jake. So talk us through that one.
Well, I've snuck the average, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, overall, I'm not too dissatisfied. I think coming into the last couple of game weeks, I know I had a very good one because of Liverpool's win against Bournemouth and just having the right players worked in my favour. This time, I've still avoided going for the wild card, even though at the back of my mind, I think it would benefit me for a certain amount of players, especially when you say having defenders as transfers or -4s isn't really that, it doesn't really pay off as much. I think my defence could do with some rejigging. So I feel like it's one of those things where I'm glad I've kept my wild card for the time being, especially with these double game weeks potentially coming up soon. I've still got a few more attackers that I want to bring in. Of course, there's the De Bruyne, there's the Haalands, there's then the Salah even to consider, and the Sons. There's so much for me to consider in the next few weeks. So I'm happy I've stuck to my kept hold of my wild card. Did just take one transfer, didn't take a minus. It didn't pay off, but who would have thought that Nkunku would play? Who would have thought he'd come off the bench? Who would have thought he'd score? It was just typical. And then the same goes for Jimenez against an Everton side who I didn't realise could defend all of a sudden. They're so contradictory on themselves. One minute they'll get absolutely battered, the next minute their defence is proper Sean Dyche Burnley era. Um, Whereas Raul Jimenez, I think he's pulled his hamstring, so he's out indefinitely. So that didn't work out as well as I hoped it would. But then again, there's the question of if I didn't take that transfer and I held it for a week, would I have played Nkunku or would I have opted for maybe a Semenyo? As much as Semenyo may not be the wisest of form of players to have in my team, I don't know if I would have backed Nkunku to score against Liverpool.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have backed him to play, let alone score. So I feel like that's just one of those, really. And then on the whole of it, at least I've made the average. Things paid off. I'm glad I captained Foden. I was debating over Jota, but that was only a 4-point difference. And then, of course, Disasi only came in because Diego Carlos didn't play. Who knows if he played, maybe Newcastle wouldn't have scored. Who knows? But yeah, I think I do. I am definitely due a reshuffle at some point. But overall, it could have gone a whole lot worse. I know a lot of people were a bit disappointed with their week, and I think on the whole, I was like at least happy that the players I had in specific games when they were quite convincing, it did go well. And of course, it could have been so much better had Darwizzy not absolutely shut the bed.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that point, to be honest. I think if Darwin obviously scores that penalty, then gets the assist, this is looking a lot more positive a week. Maybe you go a different captain as well, get a few extra points off there. I think maybe it could have looked a little bit better, like you said, but it's not the worst week in the world. I think there's just some good players in there who've done well. You know, Diego Jota, Gomez, Saka, Foden. And then there's some players who've absolutely shat bed, like you said. Raul Jimenez, Darwin, Kulusevski, Diassi being the big candidate there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like as well, I've slowly started to lose faith. I mean, I think I was a lot more adamant about it last stream about Saka's lack of goal contribution. And of course, there he is getting 10 points. It was inevitable. I finally gave up on captaining him, and there he is getting the most out of my team. But it's one of those, really. I think I need to see a bit more consistency from Saka to be able to confidently back him even in the simpler games.
Yeah, I get that. It looked, well, from some of the data that I've seen in heat maps, it does look like his position was slightly altered. So maybe if that's kind of more a long-term thing and we see that over more games, potentially could be a player that, you know, maybe works his way back into a lot of people's teams and potentially could regain that captaincy as well when he does play the lesser teams, like you said. But I think it is one to potentially kind of keep your eye on, I reckon. I reckon that's the way to go.
Agreed.
Agreed indeed. Right, let's take a look at how your team is looking for game week 23. This is in FPL.team. I've obviously put the line up for you. I've guessed at what you pretty much would probably do, Jake. Let me know if
can't
that's
see,
accurate.
but I take it you've got Gomez, Raul, and Taylor on the bench.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I've got
Who have you benched?
I've got Pinnock, Semenyo, and Taylor on the bench.
Right,
Raul's,
okay.
Raul's in there because it's just
Raul looks like he might be a doubt, which is a bit of a shame, really, because of course you'd want him in that game as much as he didn't find the back of the net against Chelsea. He's clearly a massive threat, so he would have been someone that I'd have even been tempted to put my captaincy armband on. He has scored at the Emirates before. On that note, as much as I might be a Liverpool fan, Saka does love a goal at the Emirates against Liverpool, so maybe that is something that I go for. As much as Saka's not been like hauling that much of late, he's had a decent week. Maybe that'll give him some confidence. With you saying the statistics may hint that he's a bit like playing in that more attacking role. I'm not too sure what you're insinuating, but I'd imagine it's something along those lines.
Pretty much.
And so, yeah, I feel like a transfer is definitely needed in the attacking side of things this week. I think I can just about make do with my defence. I have actually... So I've got Dubravka in goal on my team in front of me. Sorry if it's a little bit different, but I've got Dubravka in goal. I've got Disasi against Wolves. Who knows how that go? Diego Carlos. I'd like to think Emery brings him back in after their disappointing game at home against Newcastle. And against Sheffield United, you'd like to think they can keep a clean sheet. But, of course, Ben Brereton Diaz seems to be thinking otherwise at the moment. And the reason I've got Ethan Pinnock in, I don't know. I think it might be a worthwhile thing to put Gomez back in, but of course, then I've got Saka, so it's just one of those. If it was at home to Arsenal, I think I'll be more inclined to put Gomez in, but I think I'm going to have to put him in over Pinnock. I think you are right. I've got the five in midfield: Jota, Kulusevski, Saka, Foden, Kudus. All of them against teams that they can haul against. I mean, as much as United seem to have like become a little bit better attacking wise, they still seem to be leaking goals for fun. Kudus is a menace. He's come straight back from international duty and got a little haul of that winning that penalty last night. I don't know what I'm going to do captaincy wise. I know I've mentioned that I would have done Darwin potentially, and I might consider Saka, but of course, the bottom line is as much as Saka may have that decent history at the Emirates against Liverpool, I don't think I want to go against Liverpool to that extreme. I've already got him in my. So I think it's time for me to start considering like putting my money where my mouth is because I've got about 14 million in the bank, and I don't have Salah, I don't have Haaland, I don't have De Bruyne, I don't have Son, and I know people are still out of those that I've mentioned, but it's definitely time where I start to consider bringing someone like that in, I think, because without Darwin, without Raul, I've only got Semenyo, who doesn't last the full 90. So I think maybe I'll be tempted to make a -4. I know you're quite reluctant to go for that when I'm talking about a defender, but I may feel like on the whole, I doubt Gomez is going to keep a clean sheet, and I doubt Pinnock will as well. So I feel like it might be one of those where it's worth it. But that's.
Do you think Gomez plays this week?
What'd you say?
Do you think Gomez starts?
I think Gomez is more likely to start than Bradley, to be honest, because I think Robertson's still. He's been out for considerably longer. I think Gomez has been absolutely fantastic at the back. I think he needs to play. To be honest, he's been such a good player for us. He's still got that experience, and so I feel like Klopp will trust him. Whether he plays the full game, I doubt it. I do feel like Robertson will feature, but he made the 60th minute against Chelsea, so I'd like to think he at least makes the 60th minute again.
Yeah.
But I mean, even if he doesn't play that much and I only get the 1 point, it's going to be better than Pinnock probably.
True. In terms of transfers, what are you thinking? Who are the problem players? Who are you thinking of bringing in?
Well, I mean, Raul's out indefinitely, like I said. Charlie Taylor's going to sit on the bench regardless of his injury because he'll come in eventually. Darwin, I feel like I'm just going to have to hold on to him because he is such a good player to have. He's such a good asset, and I do think it will pay off eventually. It paid off against Bournemouth. It should have paid off against Chelsea. He's just a constant threat to any defence that he plays against. So I'm going to hold on to him. But I am tempted. I am thinking it might be time to bring Haaland in straight for Raul.
I think that'd probably be the move. In terms of the Darwin injury update, he has been pictured in team training today. So
that's promising.
That is promising. I think he might play the game, to be honest, because you play on Sunday as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like, if he's been in team training today, maybe there's a late fitness check tomorrow for him. I think realistically he could play on Sunday.
Would you take a -4 and take out Pinnock and bring a Newcastle defender in?
Probably not Pinnock. I'd be more tempted to take someone like Diassi out.
Right, okay.
Just because Pinnock's got that double. Like, I know it's two shit games in the double, but at least it's a double.
Well, in that case, is it worth maybe we take
maybe
tricky one?
Maybe Charlie comes out.
Gomez out?
Potentially. But
if he's a doubt to finish all the games now, just because I don't want to take the Sassy out just because of his next two fixtures benefiting me more than, of course, Pinnock's. I get the double game week, so he could sit on the bench.
Yeah.
But I don't like, of course, Pinnock's fixture now. I don't like Gomez's fixture now. And I don't like the chances of Gomez lasting the full 90.
True.
So, yeah, I think if I was going to take a transfer and take a defender out, it would be one of those two. And, of course, with you saying Pinnock's double, I think it is worth just keeping him on the bench for a bit.
Yeah. And aren't Brentford's next two after this quite nice as well? I know they've
They've got Wolves away, and then they've got Liverpool and City in the double. So it does stink a bit, but at least you'd like to get a few points.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? It's
a horrible run after that double. West Ham away, Chelsea home, Arsenal away.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is Chelsea, obviously, with that blank in 26.
True, but I feel like that would be something. Would that be something when you'd be considering a wild card, or would you still be holding on?
I'd probably still be holding on. It's probably more likely potentially a free hit in 26, but I feel, to be honest, you could navigate it quite all right. The only players that are going to blank for you are going to be actually quite a lot. It's going to be... I just remembered you have triple Liverpool. So it'd be Gomez, Diego Jota, Darwin, Kulusevski and Diassi currently blanking.
On that note, it might be sensible to take Gomez out, mightn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it might be sensible to take Gomez out. I think Botman, though, would be the one that I would go for. Newcastle have got some really good fixtures, play in blank game week 26, and have the potential to play in blank game week 29 as well, if you don't want to use your free hit in those weeks. So I think that would be quite a sensible move.
Sound.
And like you said, Ralter, Haaland for a -4. I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
I can get on board with that, Jake. I'm all for
I'd
that,
probably
mate.
get the captaincy armband out for Earl.
Give it old Earl, eh?
Yeah.
Before we move on to my team, we do have a few questions in the chat. Well, actually, no, we don't have any questions. Just people saying hello to us. The White Goldfish says he scored 40 this week, so a little bit of a stinker for him. Jamie Hayes, a regular of these streams, he says, "What's up, boys? We're doing pretty good. Are you doing good, Jake?"
I'm doing good. If there's no questions, I've actually got a question for people.
Go on. Ask
before.
the public. Ask the millions that are viewing.
It's not quite a fantasy question, but I'm just about to do a last man standing. Just wondering, top 4 leagues, who would you back this week to be a nails on win? I think a few of them that I was considering. You mentioned Stockport. I have thought Newcastle. Of course, that could be a bogey with it being Luton on their high horse, but of course it's at St James's Park, so I'd like to think Newcastle should do it. And I think something that's tempted me for Newcastle over someone like Stockport is Newcastle's fixtures get a little bit more difficult. Don't get me wrong, they should still perform all right, but I just don't know if I can bank on them in the next 4 or 5 to get a victory.
Yeah.
So it would use Newcastle's fixture. So yeah, if anyone fancies giving me a bit of advice on who they would back this weekend out of the top 4 leagues, please feel free to comment.
Yeah, there you go. Get your picks in for Jake's last man standing. That's what we're looking for this week. Scrap the fantasy. We're all here for the last man standing. I've gone with Stockport.
Yeah, this is FPL Tom and LMS Jake.
Yeah. Is that the new channel going? Is it, lad?
It is, yeah.
I like that one. I do
Not
like
gone
that one.
so well so far though.
It's fine, lad. The millions are going to start rolling in. They're going to start rolling in. Anton's in the chat as well. Hey man, how are you doing? Hope you are doing good too. Right, let's move on to my points for game week 22. A little bit of a stinker. 53 points for me in the end. A small rank decrease of about 38,000, so not the best. Captaincy, unfortunately, it did go the wrong way. Did have it on Alvarez till pretty much about 10 minutes before the deadline, then brought KDB in and gave it KDB. A little bit of a stinger, that one. Watkins and Slanky delivering the goods. And then the rest of the team, 1s and 2s round the board, to be honest. So not great, to be honest. Little bit wobbly from the boys. So a little bit of a rank decrease. But I think we're in an okay position going forward. There are a few problem players that I think I am going to have to start dealing with over the next few weeks. Bowen is one of them with 2 difficult fixtures for West Ham. Trent, whether or not he can secure his place. Obviously, Haaland coming back in, so which striker do I take out is obviously the big debate for me this week. And then, yeah, Colwell and Taylor on the bench as well, both injured for this game week. So not good stuff. But it was an all right week. It could have gone a lot worse. I'm glad I kept Alvarez in and didn't bring in Haaland. That's fine, but some real stinkers of performances. Garnacho deserves a shout out as well. Picked up a yellow card off the pitch. Come on, lad. Come on. What are you doing? How do you pick up a yellow card off the pitch? What was he doing? Just an idiot. Absolute idiot. We've had some LMS shouts for you, Jake, in the chat as well. Jamie Hayes has seconded Newcastle. And Daniel Wilson has said Peterborough should beat Wigan. So there you go.
Oh, should.
Should's not a word for Jake. Should's not a word for Jake. Do keep those LMS picks coming in. Like I said, if you've got any fantasy questions as well, get them flying into the chat. Where that's a little bit more what the chat's about. But we're letting Jake have it.
It's a nice little section, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, if you do well next week, we'll have you back.
It's bound to frazzle your brain thinking about who to bring in, who to take out. All these players, Haaland, blah blah blah. Let's think about Peterborough. Let's think about Newcastle.
Yeah. Well, maybe Mansfield is the one, lad. Derby win. Tom Nichols' goal on debut. Who knows?
Who is it you're playing?
County.
Ooh, to be fair, they do ship the goals.
Tranmere
could beat them, lad. So.
I mean, at least Tranmere have forwards. That's all I'm going to
That's
say on
true.
that one.
That's true. You just need Super Connor Jennings, lad.
Exactly. Right, let's move on to the my team for this week. Where is it? That's the one I need. Put you back there. Boom. This is how the team is currently lining up for game week 23. Obviously, Colwell has now been confirmed out injured, so it will be Gabriel who will obviously slot in there. The rest of the team, there's some really, really tasty fixtures in there this week. Obviously, the two Villa lads with Sheffield United away, hoping for a good haul there. Anthony Gordon with Luton at home as well. No Isak and Wilson. Looking a possibility that he could actually play as a striker. Obviously, my two City boys, but I think it is probably going to be Alvarez making way for Erling Haaland. Cole Palmer with Wolves at home as well. Very tasty little fixture there. And then Dominic Solanke with Nottingham Forest at home as well. So I think the team's in an okay position. Obviously, Haaland's going to come in for Alvarez. That'll probably be the transfer that I make. Put Gabriel in for Colwell.
2-goal haul.
You what?
Do you not think Pep would keep faith in Alvarez for one more game?
I think he might, but I also think Haaland's going to play. From the quotes that he's come out.
I just feel like there's a chance that they could both play because I don't think he'd drop Alvarez after his performance.
But then,
it's
he's going to have to drop KDB then.
Oh, you could drop Foden.
He could, but I don't think he'd push one of Alvarez or KDB out wide.
That's true. That is true. Well, it'd be interesting. Would you not be tempted? I guess you can't take Watkins out against Sheffield, can you?
No. And I don't really want to take Dominic Solanke out as well because he's looked deadly.
Well, he scored a hat-trick in the reverse, didn't he?
He's honestly looked so good over the past few weeks. I mean, Calvin Phillips gave him the goal, to be honest.
Yeah, great assist.
Wonderful assist on debut. You know what I mean? So, can't wait for him to start in the Euros. Absolute clown. But, yeah, if this was your team, Jake, what do you think you'd do?
Sorry, I can't actually see. Who is it United have?
They've got West Ham at home.
Okay. Well, to be fair, I don't think Garnacho's a bad shout to have playing, but I'm just trying to see who I'd put in for him, and I don't think there'd be anyone that you'd want to drop, so I get why you've benched him.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll... do you reckon you take a -4 for a defender, or are you just going to stick to Haaland for
Probably
Alvarez?
not. I think that's going to be the transfer next week, is Colwell out for Botman next week.
It's all right. Gabriel scored against Liverpool anyway. So.
Exactly. I don't really know how to predict that game. I feel that could be quite like a tense 0-0.
Could be a 0-0, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think there's always that possibility that it could be a real tense 0-0. I've got no Liverpool attackers or Arsenal attackers as well, so I'd kind of be sat there and going, I'd take a 0-0.
Yeah, I get that. I like. I know this is usually your job, but I'm going to take the reins for a sec.
Go on. Whoa.
I like the White Goldfish suggesting Gordon captain. I think that's actually not a bad shout because he's going to be a banker to start. He's probably going to last the whole game, and then you don't have to dabble with the pep roulette of who's going to start, who's going to last.
Well, this is the thing. We will come on to talk about captaincy, but I've got my eyes on someone else. I've got my eyes on someone else in my team. So get your guesses in for that one, who it could be. I've seen nobody talk about this. That's it. It's Ezri Konsa. Bang, bang, bang. But yeah, no one's speaking about this lad. And I obviously looked up his per 90 stats. We do have a slide for it, so we will come on to talk about captaincy with my suggested picks for this week.
Oh, the tension is killing me.
Exactly. It's probably killing everyone at home as well. We are going to go to an ad break after this as well and just, real ramp up the tension. But we will come on to talk about who I'm going to captain. But yeah, like I said, I think the transfer this week is going to be Alvarez for Haaland. You can probably see why.
Fair enough. I can't argue with it. The only thing I'd say is I just would feel a bit for Alvarez if he's benched after his really good performance.
I think maybe he might not be, but even if he's playing in the 10 role and Haaland's up top, I'd still probably want Haaland.
Yeah.
Like I want to just have a quick look at Brentford's recent results, to be honest, because I feel they've just been losing and losing and losing.
They've definitely been shipping goals. That's a fact.
Yeah. Well, 3-2 against Tottenham, 3-2 in the FA Cup against Wolves, 3-2 against Forest. So like some definite heavy fixtures in here, isn't there? Jesus. What other ones have we got? 1-1. Trying to look the last time they kept a clean sheet. I'm
Well, I
going
actually
back.
remember they did keep a clean sheet against City a few years ago.
Last
Just the
time they
fact,
kept a clean sheet, this is Brentford, 28th of October.
just a heads up.
Mm.
Last year, Brentford won 1-0 at home.
They did the double over them last year. It's Tony, innit?
Ethan Pinnock.
Play him. You have to play him now.
As as if.
Lad, he has to come in the team. By your
Oh
logic.
no.
By your logic, lad, he has to come in.
He does, doesn't he? Well, at least to be fair, at least that logic means that I wouldn't have to take a -4 and I'd just bite the bullet on if he gets 0 points.
Mm. Oh dear,
Oh,
that's funny.
as if.
So when's Ethan Pinnock coming into the team, lad?
He's getting captained this week.
I hope so. I hope so, to be honest. Fully deserved.
Pinnock against Konza, the battle you never thought you'd see.
It's that one where it's like hydrogen bomb versus coffin baby meme. Oh dear. Right. I think we've done my team. We have done my team. Cool.
Yeah.
I can see we've got a lot of questions coming in. I just choked on some water as well. Keep your LMS picks as well coming in for Jake. We've got plenty of more people in the chat. If you are enjoying any of the content that you see on the channel as well, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's get the chat. I can't speak today. Let's get the chat firing with some questions as well. Someone did. I did Saka and Obama to Eze and Haaland. Nice. The only thing I would say on Eze is Roy said that he's very unlikely to play. That is my only concern with that one. Obviously,
He's made a bottom wall.
Yeah, him and Elise obviously both came off with knocks after absolutely cooking against Sheffield United. And then both of them came off with knocks. Someone's also asked who to get for game week 25 out of Jota, Tony and Pinnock. I mean, if Liverpool's double is confirmed, probably Jota. But at the rate at the moment and the kind of positioning and the closer we get, I probably would be leaning more towards Ivan Toney if we don't get a confirmed double. I don't know how you feel about that one, Jake. Obviously, they got the game.
Yeah, because you'd imagine Tony would score against Liverpool or City as much as it's one of those. It couldn't get much harder a double game week, but Tony scores goals. That's a fact. And both Liverpool and City are, as much as they're disgustingly good attacking wise, they're both prone to conceding, especially City. They'll be so comfortable. At least with Liverpool, you can accept it and expect it somewhat. But City, man, it baffles me. It baffles me how much they concede right at the end of the game. They just go, go on, have a goal. They give the away fans a little bit of something to cheer about, don't they, when they're 3-0?
I reckon that's how they're batting off the Premier League accusations, to be honest. They're going, we'll let other teams get at least one goal, keep games interesting, you know. Oh, a 2-1. Oh, just, you know, a little bit of that.
Yeah, they fucked it against Palace the other month, and so they were like, let's go 3-0 up first, and then we'll concede.
Yeah. That's when we'll do it. Alex Naylor has said you need a bit of Rasmus. Obviously, Manchester United assets starting to cook a little bit. Rasmus and Rashford both starting to deliver the goods. I think it's 3 games in a row now. Rasmus has got an attack in return. 4, I think, for Rashford as well. Have any of the United boys potentially crossed your mind, Jake, as a transfer?
Yeah, they haven't for myself, just because of the positions where I'm considering. To be honest, I think Luke Shaw looks good attacking wise, but of course they just cannot keep a clean sheet. So that's what's stopping me from going there, because of course I could do with a centre half or some kind of defensive aspect. I do think Rasmus Højlund is a good shout. He's been an ever-present in that United team, and the only reason he doesn't actually get returns is because he doesn't get the service. As soon as he's given the ball, he does seem to be a menace, a bit of a threat. I think I'd be more inclined to go for him over Rashford, especially down to the cost difference. And I do think Rashford is more likely to spurn good opportunities than Højlund is. I also think Højlund's a lot more of a team player.
Yeah, I like that. I do think it's an interesting one with Højlund. I think maybe if he can continue this form going into the later parts of the season, might be potentially a player worth considering maybe on a free hit, or if United get some doubles confirmed. But I think at the moment the striker competition's a little bit too hot.
Who would have thought we'd be saying that this season?
I know, yeah. Like Watkins, I know he's not been like amazing over the past few weeks, but Villa's fixtures are ridiculous. So probably worth keeping him. Solanke's in a very same position. 25 and 26 are a bit iffy. But after that, there's a lovely
But
solid
he can
cream
still
run.
score, can't he? He's one of those players that will
Yeah,
still
yeah.
score when battered.
Exactly, exactly. And as well, there's obviously their double game week kind of looming around with Luton just flying around whenever that's going to happen. So you'd
Yeah.
want to have him. Alvarez is, picked up 2 goals in the week. Maybe him. Haaland back in the frame. There's just so many options.
Darwin Nunes, Tony.
Exactly. Darwin, Nunes, Tony. Obviously, if Liverpool get that double confirmed, I just think there's no way that you could actually get Rasmus in my personal opinion.
Yeah, he needs to get. He needs to be a consistent player. That's like he is being overshadowed. There's no other way to say it, that he's being overshadowed by the likes of Tony and by the likes of Solanke, who are in lesser teams, but you just know they're cheap and they're reliable. Whereas Hoyland, he just needs to keep the consistency, and then yeah, he will be a talking point. Just thought I'd say apologies for how chilled out I'm sitting, but I'm just sat up against the wall with my leg up. No reason, but yeah, no, the knee's playing up a little bit today. So apologies for my lack of formality, Tom.
Hey, lad, it's fine. It's fine. If you want to sit, just
Might take my top off in a minute, so just bear with.
well, you're just a little bit man spreading there. Just peacocking. I think this is the term that you're doing right there. Alex Taylor's also asked 2 questions. He said, "Is Haaland needed this week?" And "Is João Pedro injured?" I'm gonna let you answer that one while I go and look for the João Pedro stuff.
I would say Haaland isn't needed this week. Now, I do think it's one of those where if you have the funds and you have the space to bring him in, then go for it, especially if you're not wasting loads of transfers. If there are other places you need to prioritise, then go for that, I would say. But I'm not saying don't bring Haaland in, because, of course, like I've said, I probably will, because it just makes sense for me with my injuries and lack of strike options. But, like I've said, there is that oohing and ahhing aspect to whether Alvarez will keep his place, whether they'll both play, whether Haaland will hit the ground running, because, of course, he did look a little bit iffy, bless him. He did have that one chance which he spurned, which, of course, because of his just name he has for himself, any little miss and mishap in front of goal will be laughed at and will be spoken about all over social media. I'm sure his time will come soon. Maybe it will be against Brentford, but I do think that I just feel like the way Alvarez played, I feel like it'd be quite harsh for him to be dropped immediately. Now, he could go back a little bit, but of course, like you've said, De Bruyne has come back in and he's just clicked. Alvarez and De Bruyne are linked up perfectly against Burnley, so there is that chance that Haaland could start on the bench again. Of course, Pep saying that he's going to play. Well, he's going to play, but is that just Pep being Pep and he's going to play at some point, but not the full game? Who knows? I feel like if Alvarez is benched for Haaland, I do think there's a chance as well that Haaland won't last the whole game. So yeah, I don't think he's a necessity, but I think if you can get him in, why the hell wouldn't you? Because at least if you cock up this week, he's worth having him for the future. So yeah, I think it's one of those really. If you have other places that are more important, then go for that. But if you can bring Haaland in, go for it.
Yeah, I think for most people, like you said, it's just looking past this week as well. I think this week, like I said, is probably the last week where captaincy could be a differential. But I
Yeah.
probably would still feel confident that he's at least going to play a large majority of the game, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
they're fair enough. Who knows? Who knows? I think if Alvarez had done nothing against Burnley, it would be a no-brainer. I think that's just the only question I have over it. But like Pep could just play De Bruyne, Foden, Alvarez, and Haaland.
yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, it's one of those really. Brentford league goals for fun, so even if Haaland plays 10 minutes, he's bound to have an opportunity. So it is worth having him in, but I don't think he's the be all and end all this week.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. To answer your João Pedro question, the Seagulls are going to make a late decision on his involvement after his injury enforced a withdrawal in the thrashing against Luton. So that's all we've got to work with there, to be honest. So nothing really clear or concise. There's going to be a late fitness call, so let's hope for people's sake that, if you do own João Pedro, he will be fit and available, but it is what it is.
Brighton Palace is always a bit of a stinky game, though, to be fair, isn't it? So if you've got him in, fair enough. But I would probably advise avoiding Brighton just this week, especially after that Luton game, just to see how they react and respond to that battering.
Yeah.
Because that Palace game, for some reason, it's just usually a bit of a boring game, I find.
Uh, yeah. Usually it's usually like on a Monday night as well. They always seem to put it on, which is a weird one.
It's the biggest derby in the world, I've heard.
It is. It is Seagulls versus Eagles, mate.
Yeah, that's the one. The
Final
big.
question before we move on to captaincies is what is the ideal back five right now?
Wow.
Good question. Good question. I think a Newcastle player has to be in there with
I
their
think a Spurs
fixtures.
player doesn't harm you.
Yeah, I don't think a Spurs player would harm you. I'd probably say
Probably like as much. Is Estepinian injured?
he's not injured. He just came off. Maybe Estupinian. The fixtures are definitely there. It's just
Exactly.
whatever happens. I think a Villa defender as well. Probably someone like
Yeah.
Konza. That's a
Yeah.
pretty
I'd agree
decent
with that.
shout. You know what? A United defender's not the worst shout in the world. It would be a little bit of a differential
You'd
kind of.
have to go for a fullback, I think,
Oh,
wouldn't you?
it'd
Like a
definitely be
Luke.
Luke Shaw. It'd 100% be Luke Shaw if it was anyone.
Yeah, just having a look. I feel like that's all really. What about Fulham's fixtures? Burnley away, Bournemouth home, Villa home. Would you go for maybe like an Anthony Robinson just to save a bit of cash? Because back five is something you don't really want to be playing. So someone maybe cheap that isn't the standout player might be worthwhile going for,
Well, I
or
think
even a
if
button.
I think if I was to go for anyone, it'd probably be Jared Branthwaite.
Hmm.
They've got a
They've
fixture
got a
in.
couple of tricky games though soon
They
now.
do, but he's 4.1 million. He's going to be in the Charlie Taylor seat, where he's
Yeah,
not going to play most weeks. You're just going to need him for like Crystal Palace in 25. Then you might play him in the Brighton game in 26, maybe against
yeah,
West Ham in 27.
yeah. Fair enough.
Very similar with Charlie Taylor, isn't it? Really, he comes on occasionally if we need him for
And he
whatever reason.
scores occasionally.
Exactly.
Otherwise, he either scores or gets a 1 pointer.
Usually.
It's just a shame it's 99-1 for the yellow card 1 pointer game.
True. Right, let's move on to our final section. Then we'll whiz through some more of your guys' questions. So do keep those coming in, and we all try to answer as many as we possibly can before the end of today's stream. Obviously, there will be a deadline stream from 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So if you do have any questions, or we don't get around to answering your questions, or you want your team reviewing by me, maybe if Jake's in the chat, he might have a little pop at reviewing it as well. But yeah, if you want your team reviewing by me tomorrow morning as well, do come along to the deadline stream. Right, obviously I've kind of hinted at it throughout the stream, the fact that I do feel there is the potential, and this is probably the final week for a long time, that you could go against Haaland captain. He is on this list. I have chose 5 players that you potentially could captain for this game week. We've got Watkins, we've got Haaland, we've got Anthony Gordon, who someone suggested a little bit earlier. We've got Cole Palmer, and we've got KDB. These are their per 90 stats from this season. Obviously, KDB's I've used last season because I still think he's yet to play a full 90 over like 3 games that he's played so far this season. So it would be unfair to compare his stats that he's acquired over, odds and spods over games, against these other lads who've pretty much played close to, I'd probably say about 1,500 minutes. But we're going to start off with Ollie Watkins. Sheffield United away. He is a goal scorer. The per 90 data, it's not great. It's the second worst on this list in terms of points per 90. But, it is a good fixture. You definitely feel Villa will get some chances. Has he crossed your mind at all, Jake?
No, he's not for me, but that's only because he has had a bit of a poor time, and also Villa really stunk against Sheffield United. They were really lucky to come away with a point. They did dominate the game, but nothing was really created clear cut until that late equaliser. I think it's one of those really where he's definitely worth having in your team for the game because it could go really well for Villa and they could just batter Sheffield United. But I don't think with all those other options you've recommended, he's the person that I would have captained if I had all of those assets in my team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. Obviously, a lot of us did captain Watkins earlier in the season. That was against Sheffield United at home. He stank it up. I feel a lot of people probably are going to get flashbacks to that game and probably go, you know what? Probably not worth dabbling at, to be honest. So I think for me personally, having Watkins is a great shout, but captaining him, probably not worth it this week. I do think there are better options. Obviously, Erling Haaland, big topic of discussion at the moment, whether or not to bring him back in. Then the obvious next question is, do you captain him, and do you think he's going to get enough time to potentially score against a very poor Brentford defence? Jake, if Haaland comes into your team, is he getting the armband this week?
I think he would, to be honest. And to be honest, as much as I've said he's not a necessity, blah, 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 I think the only reason I would go for that is the fact that I just don't feel like I'm confident elsewhere. I think I said to you earlier on, I'm not too sure about my captain. I don't really know if I can back someone 100%. And so I feel like whoever my transfer would be someone that I'd be willing to captain. And if it's going to be Haaland, because of my lack of depth up front now, I think it would have to be him that I'd captain. I think I have to back the person I'm bringing in, especially for all that money. I mean, I guess I could opt for Foden, but he didn't quite do much. I mean, he was only got the assist because of Foden's, because of Rodri's class finish. So yeah, it's one of those, but I think I would captain him purely because I don't have the likes of Watkins, Palmer, KDB, or Gordon.
Nice. If you look at his per 90 data as well, it's absolutely ridiculous. He's blowing a lot of these other kind of contenders this week out of the water, nearly averaging a goal per 90, which is pretty ridiculous. And averaging 1.25 expected goal involvement per 90 is just, it's outrageous what he's doing.
Yeah, it really is. The stats don't lie. He's a fantastic player in front of goal, and if him and De Bruyne are playing, there's no doubt he'll have the opportunities, and we would back a lot of money on him to put them away. But yeah, like I said, it's just that selection issue, whether he'll start or whether he'll finish the game. We'll have to wait and see, but I do think if I'm going to bring him in, if you've got him in your team, I think there's only one person there who you're going to move on to, and Anthony Gordon, who'll be kind of tempted to go for as well.
Yeah, I get that.
Over Haaland as well.
I've seen quite a lot of discussion on Twitter about potentially going for Anthony Gordon. Obviously going to be playing up front. You know, Luton did have that 4-0 win against Brighton in midweek, but I feel away from home at St. James's Park is a little bit more of a difficult prospect for them. And I think having a midfielder playing as a striker, there could be a little bit of room for some sauce there, to be honest.
Definitely, and he does finish like a striker a lot of the time.
What was the score in the reverse? I'm just going to have a look. I feel like it was. I don't think they won. You know, I think they.
Thing is, they're at Luton, and Luton have been fantastic at home. They really have, and I would be more reluctant to go for Gordon captain if it was at Kenilworth Road. I just think it's Newcastle, regardless of whoever at St James's Park. It's just different gravy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. OBS just said it's disconnected. Now it's reconnected. So hopefully the stream hasn't just gone down. It did finish 1-0 to Luton in the end. So
Wowza.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. So maybe...
Who scored?
Now you're testing me, aren't you?
This fucking Andros Townsend.
Oh, for God's sake. Andros Townsend against his former club.
I mean, to be fair, a little shout that no one's even mentioned is Adebayo seems to be bagging for fun at the moment.
True. Hey, I've got him in draft, you know.
Have you?
Yeah, I'd put him in a few weeks ago. I've just had him in draft for ages.
That's fantastic. But yeah, no, I do feel like at St James's Park, I think that it'll push Newcastle over the edge.
Yeah, agreed with that. My potential captaincy pick, now you could disagree with me on this one, but it's going to be old Cold Palmer. I just think no one's kind of paying attention to him. I know Chelsea aren't great, but Wolves conceding 4. They're a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team, to be honest, Wolves. I don't really know what to kind of predict when they go up against people. Are they going to win? Are they going to lose? It's a little bit of a weird one, to be honest.
I would agree with that. And I think Chelsea being at home definitely puts them in the ascendancy. They clearly create opportunities, and especially against the clubs that are around their level. Cole Palmer does turn it on a little bit. He was fantastic against Fulham, I believe. He was really good against. He has been good against those sides. And he was fantastic against City earlier on in the season. I think it was only really the Liverpool game where he didn't show up. So everyone's allowed a little off day. And with Broja going off to Fulham on loan, I feel like Cole Palmer's going to start again in the more attacking role. So I feel like he's a fantastic person to go for. I really get why you'd be keen to back him. Um, but you do have Anthony Gordon in your team, lad.
I do, but I'm just looking at the per 90 data here, and as you can see, he's absolutely swallowing Anthony Gordon alive. He's the
He
only,
is.
outside of Haaland, he's the only player that has penalties as well.
Yeah, this is true. And like Wolves like to concede a penalty. Well, I mean, maybe luck should go against Wolves after the penalty they won last night.
Yeah, probably so. I'm gonna have a think about it, to be honest, tonight. It's probably gonna be one of those where on the deadline I'm going, do I pick Haaland or do I go Cole Palmer and just be a little bit risky? No, I don't
Gonna
want
send
Anthony Gordon.
notes tonight. Anthony Gordon. Gonna send you pictures of Claire Balding.
Do it, do it. I'm gonna send pictures of I don't know. I just kind of just fell over there. Final captaincy pick for this week is going to be KDB. Obviously, started his first game in midweek. Did pick up an assist in the end. Probably could have come away with a little bit more. Do you think maybe he's a little bit more secure to start? And would you give him the armband if you had him?
I think I would, but I think, well, someone like you, where you've got all five of these potential captain options, if you are to bring Haaland in, I think there are three players there that I would be backing more, and I think it's only Watkins that is below De Bruyne in the captaincy ascendancy. I think for me, I think De Bruyne is a great shout if he's going to play, and you'd think he would play because he started, had a great game, and went off for Haaland. I don't think that'll be the same thing that happens this time, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's just all about the rotation. Who knows what Pep's going to do? I think De Bruyne will start. I really do.
I think he will.
And going for him captaincy, I mean, you can never argue someone going De Bruyne captaincy if you know he's going to play. So I really don't have any qualms with that. The only thing I would say is you've got all five of these options if you're to bring Haaland in. And in my opinion, I think Gordon, Palmer even, and Haaland, if you're to bring him in, are more solid shouts, I would say, just to get that extra return.
Okay, all right. I think I agree with you on that one, to be honest. We have had some questions coming in, so we will get through those. If you do have any questions, like I said, now is the time to get them in. Right, let me scroll back. Here we go. Saint Ledger 84 has said, morning guys, have the exact money to move to Alvarez to Haaland. Still not convinced though with Haaland and KDB sharing minutes. 2 free transfers. Would go in Bowen to Gordon the move this week, and obviously saving the next one for next week. So yeah, what do you think about that? I think we've kind of spoken length about Haaland. I know you're a little bit on the kind of side of Julian Alvarez and maybe holding him this week.
I think I am. I really do think I am. But if he's got 2 free transfers, then going for Haaland isn't a bad shout. Who are the other strikers? Does he say who else he's got up front? Because it's something where you consider keeping Alvarez as well.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably a very similar position to me. So if St. Ledger, if you're still in the chat, let us know the other 2 forwards you potentially have in your side. But I like the other move that you've kind of outlined there as well, Bowen to Gordon.
Same.
I think after that last section, we kind of looked at Anthony Gordon as well as a potential captaincy shout. So I think, something a little bit tasty could be cooking there.
Definitely agreed.
To answer your question, Dinosaur, I already answered it in the chat, but there will be a live tomorrow, a deadline stream at 9 o'clock. I will put a tweet out and obviously put that. St. Ledger has said he has Solanke and Watkins, so again, very same position as me. Yeah. So probably Alvarez is the one that will come out. So I
think with his 2 free transfers, it's completely up to him if he wants to go for Haaland. I feel like I think you've got to back Haaland ever so slightly more, but the only reason I was supporting Alvarez was because of how well he played and the fact that people wouldn't have these 2 free transfers and may have other areas where they need to consider positions. But in the position that St. Ledger is, I'd probably be quite keen to get Haaland back in.
Cool. I'm glad we're in an agreement on that one. Felix, I think that is, has asked bench Bernardo or Gross this week. He means Bernardo Silva.
Hmm. Depends what else he's got in his team, but out of those two, probably Bernardo.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he's a fantastic player, but
Was
Gross
benched
has been
bench midweek? Maybe he comes back in.
maybe, but yeah, I just don't feel like with the likes of Alvarez, with the likes of Haaland, with the likes of De Bruyne, and even Foden, I think they're more likely to return,
Hmm.
um, as in return points. So I think I'd be more inclined to keep Gross in the team just because surely Brighton's poor form's got to come to an end eventually, and Gross does seem to be one of those players that gets some kind of return if they score a goal or two.
Fair enough. All right. I think that's answered that one. BBDE Fender has said, "Evening, thanks for a great stream. No worries." You've also asked a question. He says, "Do you guys think Liverpool's double game week is definitely not happening now? Don't want to make the transfers now, and it's announced tomorrow, but lots of price changes tonight." On that, like, it's such a difficult one to call. Like, I feel a lot of people are in the same boat, to be honest. I feel like today should have been the day that they announced it, but if you look on the Liverpool website, it's in there. That fixture is in that slot where it would actually go in terms of the double game week. Klopp made a comment as well about not having any free midweeks after this week. So again, that would imply that it's going to be in that double game week 25. But at the same time, I don't think anyone really knows. Like, it's so difficult to call. Premier League tomorrow could just go straight away and announce it. They're still waiting for the TV picks for the next, I think it's March, and it probably come out around similar time to that. But it's so difficult to call, man. Like, even Ben Krellin's a little bit like scratching his head. He hasn't got an idea. I feel everyone's kind of in the same boat, and I think it is going to be a little bit difficult. So it depends what transfers you're looking to make this week. Obviously, if you've got Haaland in, I still think Jota is a fantastic pick, even for the next few game weeks, the Burnley and Brentford game. Then, obviously, if Salah is back and Liverpool do blank in 26, you probably want to get rid of him anyway. So it's so difficult to call, honestly, at the moment. But that's kind of where everyone is at the moment.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed with everything you said there, mate.
Yeah, the Klopp comments are definitely interesting. Go and listen to the interview yourself and kind of make your own judgment. But like I said, everyone's in a very similar position. Not 100% sure if this double game week's going to happen. So it is what it is, to be honest.
I mean, if you're not too sure what you want to do, you can always hold off in the week because it's not like Liverpool have a banker this weekend. So having a Liverpool player this week is not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
So it is you can afford to just wait a week on Liverpool players.
Yeah, I think his problem is, I'm just reading here, he's obviously got Salah and he doesn't know what to do with him. I think I'd still take Salah out. Obviously, there's
I
been
think
pictures
so.
of him training and stuff, but he's just in trainers. He's not like in his boots. He's not with the team, so he's probably still a few weeks away. And realistically, do Liverpool go and drop him in straight away to a double game week?
Yeah, exactly. With the amount of attacking force at the moment as well,
I
why
think
would
with
you need
Jota
to?
and obviously like Darwin did miss the penalty and whatever, but he still looked extremely good.
Hmm.
So
Even Diaz had a good game.
exactly. So that's what I mean. Like, I feel like Klopp will probably feel a little bit more comfortable slowly integrating Salah back in rather than rushing him in, him being out and then missing more like bigger games.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes, we are doing team advice. So if you want to send that in, we'll ask some questions. Right, what other questions have we got? The White Goldfisher says, "I think I'm with you now on Palmer. The potential Newcastle lineup looks awful in midfield with all of their injuries. Not sure Gordon will get too many chances." Fair point. Obviously
Wow.
missing Joel
That's a
Linton.
ballsy point considering I'm thinking of last man standing Newcastle.
Well, yeah, this is it. Maybe you go Chelsea, Jake.
Well, White Goldfish, what's your recommendation for a last man standing team in the top four leagues? I'm intrigued because I was pretty much set on Newcastle till you said that.
Ah, this is it now. This is it now, lad. He's shook you, is what he's done. He's shook you. He's rattled you. Do keep your questions in. We will wait about 5 more minutes for any more questions to come in. So I'll ask Jake some questions. Obviously, the most popular one of the week, Jake. Everyone's absolutely gagging for this question. It is going to be the highest scoring game of the game week. Which one are you going for?
I am going to go for. I'm going to go for Newcastle Luton.
Okay, okay.
I feel like both defences could be a bit shaky, but I do feel like Newcastle should win that quite comfortably, as much as the White Goldfish maybe say otherwise.
uh, I'm gonna go for Burnley Fulham.
Of course, you are.
Hey, lad, I went for Crystal Palace Sheffield United, and it was close. It was close. 5 juicy goals in there. They tried. They tried their best to,
They really did, yeah. They really did.
And then United went, well, we'll have a 4-3 classic Barclays game. White Goldfish is taking a look for you now. Right, obviously we've got Bedshirt of the Week to end, so let's get that ended and hand out the awards. I think it's pretty obvious who's going to win this week, to be honest. No real shocks, is there? It is going to be Darwin Núñez taking home the vote. YouTube poll has shat itself as well. It's gave Darwin 59%, Trent 40%.
Clearly, YouTube have another candidate.
Yeah. YouTube have put themselves in there as well for Bedshitter of the Week for the poll nomination. So thank you everyone who has voted for that one. As always as well, thank you for everyone who's been along to the stream. Like I said, there will be a deadline stream tomorrow. Like we said, we're just waiting for Goldfish's pick here, and then we'll obviously end it there.
Well, he said he can barely play FPL, so maybe his Newcastle advice is actually irrelevant.
We're waiting now, lad. We're waiting for him. This is what he's done. I hope he's happy at home. We're waiting.
His mum's probably called him for dinner.
Yeah, just like, come on, fishy, it's tea time, and just, no, mum, the boys they need me help on Last Man Standing this week. Well, that was a weird segment. I'm not doing that again.
No, it was a fantastic segment. I think we should do that more often.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring that back for next week. So yeah, there we go. Sent it in. Where have you sent it me, man? Where have you sent it me?
I assume you sent it on Twitter.
Bloody hell. Let me get it up. White Goldfish saw the funny side of it. That's all that matters.
Or is that sarcasm? Ha ha ha.
Yeah. He's put, cheers lads, 2 free transfers, 3.1 million in the bank, need to fund Alvarez to Haaland. His team is Dubravka, Estupinian, Trent, Pedporo, Saka, Foden, Palmer, Gordon, Watkins, Solanke and Alvarez. So needs to free up a little bit of money to get him in. On the bench is Saliba, Salah and Taylor. I mean, probably Salah's number one or Saliba's another candidate.
Yeah.
To be honest, if you were looking to free up some money, probably, I mean, we've had this discussion already, probably would still be taking Salah out.
I'd agree with that. I would agree with that.
And then obviously that's going to free up a lot of money for you to then obviously go and get Haaland in. That'd probably be my advice.
Why, who would you be putting in midfield?
Well, I mean, it depends what you want to do. You could go for someone like Garnacho and drop it all the way down and just keep him on the bench. Frees up a lot of money to go Haaland and gives you a lot more money to play with as well for future transfers that you potentially want to do. Or looking at players that you haven't got. KDB could be an option. Then you've got triple.
But does that stop Haaland?
No. Because he's got Foden and Alvarez, so you just take Alvarez out, put Haaland in.
No, I just mean financially.
No. Should be fine, off the top of my head. If my maths are wrong, ignore me. But yeah, there you go, FPL Cam. I'll probably take a look as well on tomorrow's deadline stream as well, if you want to send me a team on that one. The White Goldfish has got back to us. He said Fulham, Tottenham, Coventry. He says that's what ChatGPT says. You going to take any of them on board, Jake?
Coventry let me down in a previous last man standing, so I don't fancy them.
Oh, no.
Tottenham, away to Everton, that's stinky. Fulham potentially, but with Jimenez missing, I think that's a bit of a... I'm not too convinced on that. I know Breuer could hit the ground running there, but I don't know if they'll integrate him in straight away or if they'll go for Muniz or whatever his name is, and he hasn't been like a prolific goal scorer. I really appreciate all of his advice to White Goldfish, but I think I may risk the egg on the face and stick with Newcastle.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a very nice place to leave it. Like I said, I will be live at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, live on TikTok and YouTube. So if you've got any questions about your teams, or you just need any advice on in general, life, FPL, last man standing, do come along to the stream. Like I said at the top of the stream as well, we are trying to hit 5,000 subscribers on the channel. Would be absolutely amazing if we could hit that by the end of the season. FPL Cam said could do Saka to Garnacho for the exact funds and keep Salah. Can't afford KDB, only 9 mil. Fair enough if you want to go down that route. I probably wouldn't be too keen on taking Saka out though now.
Not this game week anyway.
But yeah, there you go. There's one. But yeah, we will answer some more questions. Well, I will answer some more questions tomorrow in the deadline stream. And yeah, good luck for this game week. Good luck with Newcastle, Jake, as well.
Cheers, mate.